guys.
We're back again with part three.
So, for this episode, we're going to be talking about what it was like for us to say goodbye to each other after seeing each other physically for the first time. So, I had just been with Jen for a whole month, and to be honest with you guys, I wasn't ready to say goodbye to her. So, a week before, it was constantly on my mind that the end was coming. And it made those last few days feel like so much shorter. Like they were flying by. Like this one thing that I didn't want to come, it just kept coming quicker and quicker. At the same time, you're trying to enjoy the moments that you have together and you're trying to make every little second count. But somehow every second seems to be over quicker than ever before. Like it's crazy. But yeah, so what I ended up doing was I ended up changing my flight. Like I was there one day just looking at Jen. It was like a few days before my flight, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stay longer. And so I ended up calling the airline, canceling my flight, my return flight, and I went with a new airline because I was trying to find the cheapest airline. So I went with a new airline to go back to London. And yeah, so I ended up staying an extra 2.5 weeks, which brought that total holiday to 6.5 weeks, thereabouts. And of course, my parents were super mad at me, my mom especially. Like at this point, I was running low on cash as well. So it was kind of like they were worried about me, how I was going to get by. And yeah, like I don't know. I just had no doubts in my mind. Again, it was just something that I was just like, no, I got to do this. Like, I have to stay with Jen more. Like, this has been the best summer ever. I want to stay. I don't have a job. I quit my job. So, there's nothing for me to go back to London now. Like, there's no reason other than me going low on money. But I was like, well, I can ration it. Like, I can get by. So, I changed my flight, and obviously, eventually, the day came that we had to say goodbye to each other. Like I couldn't avoid that forever, unfortunately.
Yeah, so I don't know about you or how you kind of like dealt with it, but as for myself, like I remember the last week or so, the last few days before I knew you were leaving, I kind of just tried not to think about it. Like I was trying to avoid it, like somehow that would help it not happen, if that makes sense. So I was like, oh, gotta make the most of these last few days, like trying not to think about him going, just like enjoy every last minute that we have together.
And what's that's crazy because like I was a total opposite. I was actually thinking about it, and that's why there were like some nights where we laid in the park at nighttime together with blankets, and I would legit just start crying, and she would never know why are you crying, and it was because in my head I was thinking, oh, I'm gonna leave you soon. Like I don't want to. I don't want this to end. So yeah, it's interesting that we had different approaches to it, and that's probably how everyone has different approaches to it. But yeah, so the last day came. The day before, I wanted to make sure that I did something special for Jen. So I did like a scavenger hunt at nighttime. And that kind of meant that we spent that whole night together to make sure that, we were making the most of it. But it also meant that the last day I was so tired. And somehow, Jen, I don't think you were that tired. You
I
were
wasn't
like,
that tired.
I was so shocked. I remember just being there, like, you were up all night with me, but yet you're not tired at all. Like, I was like, what's going on? Like, how have you got this superhuman powers or something? Um, so her mom picked me up in the car and we were on our way to the airport. And legit, within 10 minutes, I just started sleeping in that car journey. And when I woke up, when I came to, I remember thinking, oh my God, I've literally just spent the last 2, 3 hours with Jen sleeping in the car. Like, I didn't even, like, get to speak to her or like try and make the most of it. So I was kind of like, oh my God, what have I just done? Like, did I really just sleep through that? But yeah, I think I woke up because we went through a drive-through and we were super close to the airport. We were like 15 minutes away, and they wanted to give me some food before I went in, which was kind of her mum. And then that's when you started to cry, right?
Yeah. I don't know what happened because up until that point, I hadn't cried. Like I had not even like in the days before. I had like just remained like really strong, I guess. I was trying to. Anyway, I really didn't want to cry. But yeah, something about when we popped through that drive-in, I don't know, like I think I must have just started thinking about it, about how close we actually were to the airport, about how, you were just gonna go in like a matter of minutes. And yeah, I couldn't keep it in anymore.
And then
So,
obviously I saw Jen starting to cry. So I just started crying when the floodgates were open. And it's interesting to hear you say that, like, you were trying to like hold it in and trying to avoid it. And I don't know, I kind of feel like a day or two before, I was like all sad and stuff. And like, I can't, maybe a part of me kind of thought, why, like, why isn't she sad? Like, why isn't she crying? Doesn't she like me? Like, is she
wow.
not sad that I'm about to leave? But it's interesting to hear like that you were just trying to keep that in as much as you could, and then as soon as you saw like those airport signs and the planes over the car landing, that's when the emotions all just came out all at once and you started crying.
Yeah, couldn't really escape reality anymore.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting how everyone has a different approach to it. Cool. So then we actually arrived at the airport. Her mom parked the car, and we got out. We went to the terminal, and we got news that the incoming plane that was going to take me to London had actually flown through a storm on its way to Los Angeles, and through that storm, lightning had struck the plane, which like damaged like the communications or something. So that meant that my flight was delayed a whole 12 hours or like 10 hours because they wanted to, I think, get a new plane in or something like that. We had to wait for another plane. So obviously that meant we got a whole bunch of hours together.
Yeah, and it was like a super bittersweet moment, you guys, because we had literally just gone through the whole
The
process of like
emotions.
mourning it. Like, oh my
Yeah.
God, he's gonna go. Like,
Yeah.
my mom had parked the car. I remember I got out. I remember we went up to the sign that has all of the
Oh
flights,
yeah.
and we took a picture
Took a
by the
picture,
sign
yeah.
to show, or to remember that he took Norwegian flight that day back home.
Uh-huh.
So like we had stopped there, we took the photo, we walked inside the airport. And before he checked in, I remember I was waiting in line with him, and we took like a selfie, like of me just like hugging him. I have that somewhere. I will show you guys if I can find it. And yeah, we went through all the notions of, oh my God, he's
That's
going.
so
Like,
good.
we felt all the feelings, and then to have to have them say, oh, just kidding.
Yeah. And the way it was as well, like lightning hit a plane, that's pretty scary for the people in that plane. But I was like celebrating, like, yeah, like I get to spend more time with Jen. So at this point though, we didn't know what was gonna happen. Like I was like, wait, so are we just gonna stay at the airport? Are you gonna stay with me? Like, is your mom okay to stay with me? Or like are you guys just gonna leave me here and now I have to stay at the airport for a few more hours by myself, just crying or whatever. But luckily, her mom had no like plans or anything on that day, and so she said, "Oh, let's go to the beach. LAX is close to the Santa Monica Pier, which is like a 20-minute drive or something like
Yeah.
that." So we ended up going to the Santa Monica Pier after like a few, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes of trying to find a parking space. We eventually did. And like, I didn't care. Like, literally, at this point, this was all extra time with Jen. So like I didn't care what we were gonna do. I didn't care if we were just gonna sit on the beach. I had no idea. Like I couldn't envision what was about to happen
But yeah, we ended up having so much fun. We went to Pacific Park, which is basically the little amusement park that's on
on the
that
pier.
pier.
Yeah.
And yeah, we bought like matching bracelets, and we went
We
on the
wore that for a
rides.
long time.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah.
I must have mine somewhere.
I'm pretty
I
sure we
just,
do, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, you clipped them in a mason jar once, I think, and put him there. Yeah, yeah.
Then it might be in my closet back home.
Yeah.
But yeah, we ended up like going on the roller coasters. We had like Slurpees and churros, and we just like walked around, and it was just like enjoying. the last few hours. It was so much fun.
It was like such an amazing way to spend that last day. Like,
Yeah.
I've been to California so many times. No other last day was as good as that last day. Because usually what happens is, the flight is at some weird time during the day, so it basically cuts that day, and it's like that day doesn't even count. But
Yeah.
this delay meant that my flight was leaving at like, I don't know, like 11 or midnight or something like that. So we had it was a whole extra day together, unplanned, and it just felt
Yeah.
so amazing.
I feel like the fact that it was unexpected made it that much
Made it
better.
better. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And then just the fact we had so much fun, even with your mom as well. Like, it was just great. Like, it was just a great day.
She was just following us around,
Yeah,
just looking at us. She didn't go on any of the rides, but
yeah,
she took some pictures of us.
yeah. She did. She got some great pictures of us actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously, we couldn't escape it forever. Eventually, it was time for me to say goodbye. Who knows if this one was gonna be, the actual goodbye, since we already did that earlier and it didn't happen. I think a part of me was like wishful thinking that we're gonna go to the airport and they're gonna say that, oh, I've got to stay another day or something. Like, I was wishfully trying to think, oh, I'm gonna get another day somehow. Like, it's okay. This isn't the end. This isn't the end. So yeah, so her mum drove us back to the airport, and because it was so late, it was 10 o'clock at night, and she still had that 2.5 hour drive back. She was like, right, I can't. Sorry, Joe, but I can't like stop at the car park for you this time. I'm just gonna drop you off at the departures section. So yeah, so she drove up. I said goodbye to Jen, and it felt so quick. Did it feel
It
quick to
was
you?
quick. It was quick because they don't allow you to park there. They want you to just stop and for the person who's leaving to get out, get the bags and go.
Yeah.
So I think I literally just got out of the car and hugged you
Yeah.
and that was
And that
it.
was
Like
it.
you were gone.
That was it. Yeah. I
So
remember just hugging Jen. I don't think her mum didn't even get out because she had to just, stay there for a few seconds. Got
yeah.
my bags. And then that was it. Like, I looked at the car and the car's just driving away, and I could see Jen looking at me through the window, and that was it. Like, and from that moment, like, I, the feeling that I had was like, the only way I can explain it is almost like a lost puppy. Like, I legit just felt like, what just happened? Like, something's just been taken away with me. Something that like I really need has just been taken away from me, and I felt so lost. It was such a weird feeling that I've never experienced before. I'm usually somebody who's really confident, somebody who, is independent. I go about doing what I want to do or whatever. But in that moment, I just felt lost. I was like, where do I go? Like, it was strange. It was strange. And I was crying. I put my sunglasses on to make sure nobody could see me, because ain't nobody trying to see me cry. I'm not gonna show them those tears. And so yeah, I'm pretty sure it was that way all the way until security. And it's such a long process, like, that you're just there, like,
and you still had to wait a lot of time too.
yeah, because for whatever reason, even though they said one time, I'm pretty sure there was even more delays. So yeah, it was just such a long process, and at the end, I was so exhausted. Obviously, as I said at the start, like, we had spent the last day up all night trying to make the most of that night. So I had hardly got any sleep. The only sleep I really got was in the car and a few hours before. And then obviously, when you're tired and you're spending time with the person you love, like, the tiredness just goes away. So I wasn't tired when we were at Santa Monica Pier. Like, it was like I had so much energy and we were just using all that energy. But suddenly all of that just like nosedived down. And so I remember actually falling asleep, I think, at the boarding gate when I was sitting down. I think I fell asleep for like a good half an hour or something whilst I was waiting. And then as soon as I got in the plane, I was fearing like how it was going to be in the plane, but I ended up just, I think, sleeping 90% of that trip. And I'm grateful that I did, because it made it feel better, because I was just thinking, oh my God, I'm just going to be there crying. Like, what am I going to do?
Yeah. Meanwhile, I had to drive back home and I was just there like struggling to put the GPS on for my mom. And then after I got that all set, we were driving home and I just remember everything felt like really quiet. I just had so much time alone with my thoughts. And I'm pretty sure that when I got home, I didn't fall asleep because I think that when you landed in London, I was
You was
awake.
awake. You were waiting for
Yeah,
me to
I
arrive.
think I hadn't fallen asleep that whole night. I'm pretty sure I stayed up.
Yeah, yeah.
And then after you got home, I fell asleep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think I called you and then you fell asleep like that
Yeah.
on the call with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think overall, what that experience taught both of us, like literally, as soon as I arrived in London, this was the basically the beginning of our LDR because we had become official from the moment that we met physically. We made it official. So this was the beginning of our LDR. We didn't know what to expect. It was all unknown. I didn't know when I was gonna go see her again. She didn't know if she was gonna see me again. It was all just a big question mark. And so the biggest thing we learned, you need to like try your best to have that next trip planned as quickly as possible. I think literally 2 or 3 weeks after I landed, I had already booked my next visit there. From that time on, every time I would go see her or she would come see me, we would pretty much, I think like 90% of the time, already know, oh, we're going to see each other again in, 4 or 5 months or whatever it was. So we made sure that that unknown feeling, we like made it as insignificant as possible, like trying to minimize that feeling because it really does make a difference.
It does.
Yeah.
Because that first that time you went home and I think you didn't come back for like over 7 months.
That was, yeah, 7 months.
But knowing that you were coming back and having like a timeline of that really did make all the difference.
It really
Just
does.
having something, to look forward to and to count down to, even though it was so far away, because
Hmm.
over 7 months is a long time.
Yeah.
But just having that in the back of your mind that, oh, I'm one day closer, that it really makes so big of a difference.
And if you're scared about booking early and something happens where you guys break apart for whatever reason, you can always pay for that little extra insurance. That's like usually like, I don't know, like 10, 20 bucks extra, 10 pounds extra, where you can get a free cancellation as long as you do it, a month before at least or something like that. So yeah, I would consider everybody listening to this who's in an LDR to go down that avenue of trying to have something planned if you can.
Obviously, if you're in a long distance relationship and you have met in person, you can probably relate to a lot of what we just said. We get so many DMs with people like coming to us like crying because it's been so hard or because they just left their significant other the day before and they don't know what to do. And we can relate to that feeling of it just being just so incredibly painful.
Yeah, and I mean, we can relate to like everything that you're going through. So if you ever have any questions or anything like that, we try our best to reply to DMs. Sometimes we get way too much that like we can't. It's just me and Jen, so it's like,
Yeah, it might
um,
take us some time to get through to yours, but we try our best. We really do.
yeah. And I mean, what I would say to prepare anyone is that for me personally, that first goodbye was the worst goodbye. Obviously, every goodbye was painful, but for me personally, that first goodbye, I will never forget that feeling. As opposed to all the other ones, I can remember feeling like painful or whatever, but that first one for me, wow, like
I think it is really like a matter of like teaching yourself to be a little bit more optimistic, and as well the longer you're in the relationship, I feel like you learn to deal with it a little bit
yeah,
better.
yeah, yeah,
And yeah,
100%.
just say, this isn't the end, like I'm gonna see you soon.
Yeah.
Like Joey and I, we're saying goodbye here, but every time we actually would say bye at the airport, it was more like
See
oh,
you
I'll see
later.
you later, like
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
see
yeah.
you soon.
Yeah.
And like Joey said, yeah, trying to have that planned out.
Before we end this show, I think it'll be a good idea if we just give a few tips about how people can maybe handle that goodbye in a better way. I would say that one thing you should definitely do is to just be positive and just make sure that you're both understanding that you both handle this differently. Just like how me and Jen handled it differently. Like I was somebody who was more thinking about that end coming, and so it was affecting my last few days, whilst Jen was more of somebody who was keeping that at bay as much as she could. She didn't want to think about that end coming. So just realize that you guys go through different feelings and it can affect you differently. As well, I would say make sure you reassure each other that like you're gonna maintain this relationship. You should have a conversation about how this is gonna go. Whether that's the day before or whatever, but you need to be like, don't worry, as soon as I arrive, I'll message you. As soon as I arrive, I'll call you, or don't worry, we're going to see each other in 2 months or 3 months. Like give each other reassurance that you guys are going to be at this together. You want to tackle this obstacle together.
Yeah. It really does make a very big difference as well if you or your partner have anxiety, to just have that comfort in each other and have that comfort of knowing, yeah, like this really sucks right now, but when he goes back or when she goes back, like we're gonna keep up our routine of talking, and then guess what? Before you know it, hopefully you'll see each other again.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to, like, if you want to cry, then cry, like, and be there for each other, support each other through that. That's a new experience for both of you. So yeah, just help each other through that, I
I
would
really
say.
like that point that you just made. Like, you guys don't be afraid to feel what you're feeling. Like, there's nothing wrong with you because you're sad or because this is really hard. It's natural. It's really, really, really hard. It's a sucky situation to go through. And I feel like that first time, I really did try to hold it all in. And when I actually let myself feel what I was feeling, I ended up feeling a lot better just going through the notions that were actually quite natural. And after that, I feel like I got a lot better at just allowing myself
To
to
feel
feel what
what
I
you wanted
needed
to
to
feel.
feel
Yeah.
so that I would end up feeling better.
Yeah. And you also learn a lot about each other as well going through that. And you probably learn a lot about yourself. Like especially like me, I learned a lot about the biggest thing I learned from that experience was, oh my god, like I need Jen. Like whatever happens, I'm gonna make sure I do whatever I can to make this happen. Because I 100% love her if I'm literally acting the way that I'm acting. Like so I'm willing and down to do whatever it takes. And I feel like that's what everybody going through an LDR, you need to have that mentality if you're going to make it work. You need to have the mentality that both of you are willing to make this work and, do whatever it takes.
Yeah, it needs to be equal effort
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. And I would say the last tip would be to just find out what you guys want to do together on that last day. Because there's nothing worse than like the last day is over and maybe one of you feels like you didn't spend it in the way that you wanted to. Like just share with each other how you want that last day to go before that last day comes, because you might be a couple who wants to do something special. You might be a couple who just wants to like watch Netflix and just cuddle up. Like whichever way you want to do it, it's up to you. Yeah, cool. So check out our next episode coming soon. It'll be all about how we dealt with being apart and maintaining our relationship whilst being, what was it, 5,000 miles away.
Yeah, so you guys can all relate to that one. Stay tuned. Also, you guys, we'd love to know how you handled goodbyes in your LDR, so feel free to drop a comment below about your experience. Make sure to check out our online shop for long distance relationship gifts and merch. Visit www.survivingthedistance.shop and check it out for yourselves. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to get notified every time we upload new content.
Bye, guys.